Hello, everybody. I'm Peter Grant with Zaner Metals in Denver. My friend Peter Thomas is with us, as he always is, from Chicago,
Absolutely.
still
And we've
in the
had
canyon.
wonderful weather for a while too. It's the first cold weather we just recently had, and Diwali is upon us.
Right,
Yeah,
right, and interesting happenings in gold. The
yeah,
Diwali numbers, seem like they're pretty good, at least initially. But let's give a little perspective to gold here, real quick. Gold
sure.
was down 3% last week. And most of it came on Monday with the Pfizer announcement of a
COVID sell off. Yeah.
90%
Hmm.
effective COVID vaccine.
Yep.
So it was risk on. The stock market surged and people were bailing out of gold, and gold went from a 7-week high to a 6-week low
Yeah.
in just a couple hours.
It was a frightening break. It was kind of like one of those wily coyote falling off the cliff with the anvil breaks. And thank God, we have a hedging vehicle called Tornado, and our guys didn't get crucified, the ones that were hedging against on the rally, because it
It's
was ugly.
It's days like last Monday that make you thankful for Tornado
Yeah, exactly right. I
hedging
mean, we
platform.
built that platform to protect ourselves initially, and then we started letting people in, and now it's become a hallmark in the industry. But it that was wild, absolutely
Yeah,
wild.
so
And here's the other thing that I think was pretty interesting too, Pete. You and I have been talking now for, let's say, the past 5 months, really. As the uptrend in ETFs has accelerated. They dumped 500,000 ounces of gold in one day. And
right.
quite frankly, I think the market did do too badly. What do you think?
No, I think you're right. The range held.
Yeah,
It was a big sell-off to be
it
sure,
was. Oh, yeah.
but sentiment. So the Indian buyers for Diwali are going, yeah,
Right, exactly
thank
right.
you,
Yeah,
U.S.
sure they
investors.
are.
Um,
Obviously, their gods are very powerful because they've turned gold around for $125 for gifts for them on the same day. So obviously, something went right.
Yeah, so I guess it comes as no surprise to me that a lot of the investors, a lot of those inflows into ETFs over the last 8 months or so have been COVID-related safe haven plays. So news that we might be on the verge of an effective vaccine obviously sent
Yeah,
them running to the exits,
sure.
and but that being said, I think that sentiment, that optimism about the vaccine moderated later in the week as people
Very well put.
realize that it's going to be months before.
Now, pragmatically, the Dow still said, "Yep, it's still on." I mean, there was a lot of optimism, a lot of buying today, later on in the day. So it hasn't died, but I think the more pragmatic people said, until we get 100 million people inoculated, it's going to be a little while, right?
Yeah, I think the president said late on Friday that um, even with his kind of accelerated plan, that
Right.
it might be April.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, the fast track has coordinated with the military, because nobody does bigger numbers, especially for things such as inoculation, as the military does, and they are coordinated with that. But it's still going to take time to line them up, get the shirt sleeve up, give them a shot, and give them their. Obviously, the next market is going to be the card that you get when you get your inoculation. That card will probably have your picture on it, and you can go to theaters and concerts with it. That's going to be very interesting too.
that's a little troubling on some level too.
Oh, it's going to be an interesting fight. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's move on to
Yeah,
silver.
absolutely.
I was actually more impressed with silver's performance. It was down a little bit more on a percentage basis, but the volatility is higher in silver, generally speaking, anyways. So silver was down 3.75%.
Right.
Again, it hit a 7-week high on on last Monday,
Right.
uh, and then sold off
So
sharply,
I mean, all the metals did, right?
but it didn't even take out the previous week's low.
Well, I mean, just to give you an idea, or give our viewers an idea, 121 million ounces of silver hit the street then. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And so that goes to your point of saying it sold off, but it was a tidal wave. And we really did see some late session, next couple day buying where people just looked and went, I kind of like this break. I think I'm going to own a little here, you know?
No, I think that that's absolutely the case. You
Yeah,
know, it probed back below the 100-day moving average, but it never closed below the 100-day moving average. And
right.
in fact, based on Friday's, pretty positive performance, it closed back above the 20-day moving average, which I find encouraging. Now, I'd really like to see it trade back above $25. In my mind, sort of take the pressure off the downside, much like I'd like to see gold trade back above 1900.
I agree.
Um, but
Yeah.
I the ratio still below 80. It got up into the high 79s on that Monday's big sell-off, but never got back above 80. And now I think it ended the week kind of around 76 or so, 76 and
But the
change.
thing is that if you're a technical guy and your technician's work has been really, really good, you can't be disappointed in what silver did. And silver has really been kind of the weakest one on the board for breaks, and this time it really held up well. So kind of interesting. We had we had good buying in Hong Kong too, as far as so which is unusual.
Yeah,
So we saw Asia kind of come in strong on the break, and the underlying for the physical was quite good.
yeah. So not
Yeah,
not too bad. And sort of similarly, I mean, I guess the way I would look at it in terms of the metals recovery, sort of later in the week, is um, you know the the safe haven stuff absolutely would be favoring gold, or
yeah.
not favoring gold initially on the vaccine news, and then maybe there's going to be a little uncertainty about that for a while, so maybe
How
let's
safe am I
get a
on
little bit
paper is
long.
what it broke down to, and a
Yeah,
lot of people came back into the safe harbor of gold and at cheaper prices. So they didn't do too badly. I mean, it kind of worked out for everyone, you know. People
yeah.
took profit at higher levels and people came back in at lower levels. So gold was very kind to anybody who made some moves this week.
Yeah, so I think that the white metals sort of held up fairly
Yeah.
good in
Yeah,
general.
PGMs look strong.
Um, and I think it's because people are still sort of optimistic about the recovery, even with the resurgence of COVID, and the threat
Well,
of renewed lockdowns.
tell me about the auto numbers, man. You know, we track them.
Well, we
Where
talked
were we
about
at?
yeah, we talked about U.S.
Sure.
Auto sales last week, and they were pretty
Right.
good numbers.
They were.
Chinese auto sales were up
Yes.
12.5% in October.
Huge number.
So that's
Huge number.
great for palladium.
Yeah, it
Um,
really is.
and
And the Green Deal in China, where they came out and said basically they want to be able to see the sky. It's been 12 or 13 years. They know it's blue, but they're not sure. And the whole idea of maybe putting a catalytic converter on an engine is going to work, and they're pushing it. And well, you know, the difference is when they make a proclamation there, it's either a re-education camp or you step in line. So we're seeing more demand coming up for it, and I think that we're going to see platinum palladium demand continue to be strong in China.
I will tell you that they have the power to do amazing things
Oh,
in
yeah,
Beijing. I was there several years before the Olympics, and then I went back in the Olympic year,
yeah. Oh,
and
yeah,
it was
sure.
amazing, the difference.
They
Amazing. They
that's when they closed the factories and they had alternate days for driving and whatnot. I mean,
Yeah,
that was really amazing.
they
Yeah,
planted flowers all along the highways and stuff, and it was like I did it like not even the same city.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's interesting story. Yeah, I'm glad you
yeah,
shared that with us.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
So
so
at any rate, as you know, we've been educating our people as far as platinum and hydrogen goes. And we got a special shout out goes out to our CEO of Comstock Mining, um, uh, John Perez, sent me um, a note in the form with a 52-page dissertation from the Department of Energy, and I just blew me away. And the Department of Energy, since 2004, has had a project that they have been working on rather diligently for their R&D adaptation plan, and it's called the Posture Plan. And within it, they're looking to adapt hydrogen as a renewable energy, as a non-pollutant energy for America. And they have been rocking and rolling. Now, I read about it was rather deep. My my inorganic and my organic chemistry, it's been about 39 years since I really,
Right.
knew too much of it. I had a little bit left in what's rolling around up there, but I will tell you it was very interesting. They're covering tremendous avenues from shipping to creation of clean air. Even it's really an in-depth story. I sent Pete the link. The report is now available to you at the end of this show. So if you want to dive into this, we've been saying platinum looks interesting in the future for possibly a long-term investment for this type of membrane usage for splitting hydrogen and oxygen and using clean hydrogen for the creation of energy. This might be something you want to take a peek at.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the description
Great,
below,
great.
and they can click on it and get to it. You sent it to
It's
me.
50 plus pages, guys,
Yeah,
but you don't have to dive into it that deep, but it really it's really impressive. Mark Menendez is the head of energy, and they have really done a lot. Hats off to him.
yeah. So I think that bodes well for platinum. We've been talking
Yeah,
about that technology for a couple of weeks now,
we sure have.
and it's fascinating technology,
It really is. Yeah.
we've been kind of dwelling on it just because I think
Well,
it's really
we've been
interesting.
pushing it for about a month now because every week we feel that every time we turn around, there's either a mine that's getting a little lower yield in platinum, or someone's getting a shortage of electricity to run their equipment to mine electricity. And now all of a sudden, we got a brand new player on the block going, we might want to be running our boats rather than burning 5 million barrels of diesel a day. We might want to be using hydrogen because it's non polluting. So we're seeing some real interesting stuff going on in this field.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, platinum was only down 0.5% last week. It closed
A
around
mere bag of
892.
shells, my friend.
Yeah, exactly.
Eh,
Closed around 892 on
Yes, it
Friday,
did.
so still below the 900 level.
Yes,
And
it is.
and
Yeah.
as we've been pointing out for weeks now, it seems to struggle on rallies above 900
A
bucks.
lot of resistance there.
Um, I think ultimately it breaks out to the upside. We might have to go a little bit lower to attract buying interest again, but I still think the underlying trend is favorable in platinum. Just need to see a little proof in the pudding, if you will. And
I'm with you 100%. I just feel that if we're onto something here and we're sharing it with our people, that possibly 401s, 403bs for your IRA Ross might be a nice place to put some platinum. We do have platinum available on a limited basis. We have some PAMP available, which is probably the best there is in platinum. So give us a shout.
saw some great flows in platinum this week on the Tornado platform. So some
Yeah,
of our wholesalers are absolutely stocking up
right.
on platinum. So
Yep.
we should have good availability on platinum moving forward.
That's great.
So
That's
that's
great. We're
great.
gonna we when we see it, we jump on it because it's very hard. The If you get a chance to see us on YouTube, I did an anti-counterfeiting special with the CEO of PAMP. It shows you how to download the software and just scan their bars, their coins. It tells you whether they're legitimate or not. It's fantastic. And
Veriscan is the
yeah,
technology.
Veriscan
It's
is the name, my
cool.
friend, and that's on YouTube. So that's available to you as well.
Yeah, let's talk about palladium. It was a little bit more
Absolutely.
volatile. Um, it was down almost 7% last week. And interestingly, the big sell-off in Palladium didn't come until Wednesday. So it was under some pressure on Monday because of the vaccine announcement.
Right.
But the um, but the big sell-off came on Wednesday, and I think it was because news came out about a new mine just outside of Perth, Australia, with
Yeah.
some pretty impressive numbers.
Well, I drilled down on those numbers. Let's open this suitcase up and take a look at it. They're talking. What was the yield on that mine?
They were saying 8.4 grams per ton, which is a
Yeah,
monster
I,
number.
I said I looked at those numbers. I had to sit down. I was like going, Really?" I think maybe, and you know what? I'm certainly not the geologist on the site, but I will say to you that I think they just hit a very rich vein, and after we get into drilling on that little puppy, you might see the yields drop a little bit. But hopefully, I'm
Hey,
wrong because we sure need the product. But I think that's a pretty high number for an estimate.
it wouldn't surprise me, but that was kind of the initial test.
Right.
I think they've got 4 test holes in progress.
Okay.
So that was a staggering number, and
Yeah.
maybe it staggered the market temporarily. Here's
Okay.
the reality, though, in palladium, we're still in a structural deficit.
Yes, we are.
Our
5 years
friends,
structural deficit.
yeah, yeah, our friends at Metal Focus expect mine output for palladium to be down 10% this year,
Really?
to
I
recover
didn't.
11% next year. So it's
You
not
know,
going to really
Roth and
do
his
anything.
group over there, they do really good work. I would not hesitate to go with his numbers. I really wouldn't. That's
Yeah.
very interesting. I didn't see that.
And from the demand side, we know that the US auto market's improving. We saw a huge number for October auto sales in China. Emission standards continue to tighten in China as well. So the demand side is going to remain strong, I think. And even if there is a monster mine outside of Perth, Australia,
Right.
um, I don't think it's really going to do anything to put a dent in the structural deficit.
Well, it'd take a while. Let's put
Yeah,
it that way.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so Palladium remains in its up channel that we've been watching for some time now.
Okay.
Saw better performance late last week, some recovery. So I'm still favorable on
Okay.
Palladium.
Hey, what about Dr. Copper?
Dr. Copper was the odd man out because
It
it
was,
closed
wasn't it?
it closed up 0.8% last week.
In the teens, correct, sir?
Closed around 320 actually.
It was like
And
2013 to 20, back and forth, really choppy, very violent. But
uh,
our scrappers
yeah,
are very happy people right now.
Yeah, not too far off the mid-October high at
Yeah.
321.62. We've been talking about 330 as an objective. Um, should I be worried that Goldman's on board?
Well, Goldman says all of a sudden that copper's starting to look interesting. We've only been pushing it for a year. And,
Might be time
so
to
now
take a
I'm
little
getting
off the
nervous.
table.
The big boys are coming in going, "Hey, this looks pretty good." I'm like, "Oh, I don't know."
Yeah,
You know,
a lot of times the big boys pitch it to their retail and institutional clients while they're selling on the other end.
no, like, I can't believe it.
Don't let that get around.
That's probably just a rumor. I
Yeah.
refuse to believe it.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah,
but overall, the market still looks really healthy. I think
it
that
does.
the auto sales number bode well for copper.
Yeah,
I also think that we'll get housing starts and existing home sales. Housing starts in
which
particular, we're expecting another uptick for housing starts, which is a
I'm
good
glad you
deal for
mentioned
copper
housing
as well.
starts because we see just I want everybody to know you see about 40 to 60 pounds of copper going into a car, 400 pounds going into a house when you build a
And
home.
people seem to want bigger houses now that they're
Yes, they
trapped in
do.
them.
So we're seeing demand for copper, but here's something very interesting going on for our guys out there, our scrappers who follow us closely. I believe that China is making a move in aluminum right now. I'm seeing a lot of aluminum going offshore, and I'm wondering if they're thinking about doing it. And if you recall, our last show, we talked about Anheuser-Busch and Rio Tinto coming together to create a low carbon aluminum.
Mhm.
If that's the case, uh, that will raise the number for conductivity on aluminum, which will lower the R factor, will make it allow it to pass current better. It will be a lot. You can use it in a lot more things to get the same end result as copper. Very interesting. Let's keep an eye on that down the
Yeah,
road.
I think heat is always a problem with
Heat
aluminum
is
as you're
always a
passing
problem with
as you're
resistance.
passing current
Yep,
through it.
right.
But all I really care about is it helps me justify drinking more beer.
Pete, I'm going to come and twist your arm. You better be drinking more beer, pal.
Right.
You're helping the environment, you know?
Right. Yeah. So besides housing starts next this week, we've also got retail sales out on Tuesday. Market
Fed?
expectations are plus 0.4.
Okay.
We've got industrial production on Wednesday.
IP is
Um,
coming, right?
1% is what the 1% jump is what the
That's
market
a
is looking
that's a
for.
pretty nice number.
And I'm hearing a whisper of a little bit better number, even maybe
Nice.
as high as 1.7%
Okay.
versus September's drop of 0.6%. So it'd be nice to see IP recover
Right.
from the September downtick. Um, and those are kind of the big reports for this week.
And the only thing we've heard is the whisper from the Fed that they're just going to stay as dovish as can be. So we don't have any worries, and we don't have any notes being released or anything. So there's no real shocker midweek to possibly coming in.
Yeah, my sense is with all the uncertainty surrounding the election and the
Right.
fact that the Senate is going to be up for grabs
Yeah.
until the special elections in January in Georgia,
Yeah.
that they're not going to pass any stimulus deal.
No,
Um,
and they're still counting ballots in a lot of places and talking about having to bring in fresh staffs and whatnot. So we've got a lot ahead of us, a lot of uncertainty. Hopefully, uncertainty brings people to gold. So maybe we'll see
yeah.
continued strength in here.
I think it's another contributing factor
Yeah.
to the fact that the range held in gold.
Okay.
There's still plenty of uncertainty out there, to be sure. And so with the likelihood that we won't get a new stimulus until after inauguration day and the special election settled in Georgia, I think that puts the onus on the Fed to do what they need to do to keep the economy
Yeah,
underpinned at
I
least.
agree.
So we
I
we
agree.
might see additional QE or some other form of
Oh yeah,
accommodation
I
from the
mean
Fed.
it's certainly in the cards. Let's put it that way. It's
Yeah,
it's not off the table yet. So that the potential is there. More QE means potentially down the road more inflation. Inflation's always good for us gold bugs. So
yeah, and
that
so
could be
it's worth
interesting.
noting that the inflation data last week was pretty tepid. Only
Yeah,
plus 0.1% on CPI and plus 0.3% on PPI, which was a little bit of a beat. But the annual CPI number is 1.2%, so they're not anywhere close to their
yeah,
2% inflation target
I
that
agree.
they don't
Okay,
really have anymore, anyways. But yeah,
all right.
there's incentive for the Fed to do more if they're inclined to,
And they
and
certainly they definitely have the powder to do it. So they're not afraid. So
yeah,
I think we've just about covered everything.
I
And
think we have.
anything we miss?
I think that about covers it. So
Okay,
thank you
great.
everybody for joining us for this week in metal by
Hey,
Zaner
listen,
Metals.
don't forget, give us a like. Don't forget to follow us too, because it really helps us. It gets our numbers up and allows us to bring this show to you, and hopefully will help you in the future too, as far as the way you want to go with precious metals.
Awesome. With that, I'm Peter Grant with Zaner Metals in Denver.
Thank you, Pete, and everyone have a good weekend. Bye bye.